Day one. We are about 2 miles from Bowness. Walking inland actually. We expected to be following the coast, but we are now a little bit inland from the Solway Firth. Here's Martin. Anything to say, Martin?
My uncle always after peace on his hands.
Right, that's your line for posterity.
The best.
That's going on YouTube, mate.
Yeah.
Adam, any thoughts from yourselves?
My advice.
Okay. Well, so far it's been largely country. Not really seen any wall, but as I say, keep getting these little spots since we've been at Bowness. About a mile away. There's Adam and Martin. And there is what is currently blocking our path. Now, we did sort of walk towards them in a tentative manner, but we looked a bit nervous, so we thought we're not going to try and walk through them in case they stampede us. So we just let them go past. They seem like a friendly bunch of gals. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment. Still day one. Waiting for some cows to get past somewhere near Bowness. Chaps, Martin and Adam outside the Greyhound Inn in Bowness-on-Solway, which is a pretty unremarkable place, not very well signposted. It's been telling us for about 5 miles that it's a quarter of a mile away, or something like that, but whatever. It has some important historical significance because this is Edward I, the Hammer of the Scots. And there he is, looking out north towards Scotland, brandishing his sword in a thoroughly violent manner. And there, laid down at his feet, are the Free Lions of England. Although not a lot of people know this, the Free Lions actually represent England, Normandy and Aquitaine. So 2/3 of the English symbol is actually French. This is the face of the hammer. There he is, in the evening light, holding his helmet up high. Quite a fine statue, I'm sure you'll agree. This is where he died. He was actually laid in the local church on the 7th of July, 1307. And this plaque was unveiled by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's cousin, the Duke of Kent. Still on day one. Day two at the start. We're at a camp somewhere near Carlisle. Just fix it up. Adam's just dismantling his tent there. It's all looking good. Day two, we're just in Carlisle. It is pissing it down with rain. Loads of water in the sky. Adam's looking great. Martin's looking great too. Where's Carlisle Castle? There you go. So, this is the first point where you can really make out shape of the wall. Hopefully you can see in this landscape the sort of the way it's on a rampart, slopes over to both sides. There's the north. This would have been the area the wall was defending from. And then the other side of the rampart, and you can see what looks like a large mound. No idea what caused that. Possibly moving earth away from the ditch, but couldn't tell you. Still on day two. There's Martin on the wall. And there's Adam. Looking handsome. Here we go. Still on day two. I'm just going to zoom in. You should be able to see that we've got a bit of a snag because Adam... Oh, do you leave my umbrella alone, you? Adam has been accosted by some horses and he can't get around them, which is slightly worrying. And this particular horsey is trying to eat my umbrella, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. Just zoom back out so you can see him. This is the fellow trying to eat my umbrella. Day three of the wall walk. We're in Wallsend, a couple of miles north of Brempton. That's the view from just outside where we stayed. Take a look at that. Gorgeous. Heading onto the wall soon. All in good spirits. Perfect. Why, you're probably asking, am I filming a pile of old stones? Well, that is the first glimpse we've had on day 3 of Hadrian's Wall itself. First remaining bit we've come across. We're high up somewhere east of Wallsend. And there it is. A little bit of Roman wall. Still day 3 and we're a little bit east of Her Hill. And this is turret 52A. Hasn't got a more interesting name than that, unfortunately. But we can still go inside the tower. And this was a watchtower on the wall, which was abandoned in the late 4th century. So towards the end of Roman military occupation in Britain. Walls still look quite well built actually. Inside the tower, possibly how it would have looked at the time. Just up the hill from where we were before, maybe you can see that in the distance. Now down in that valley, which is stunning enough in itself, but down in that valley was a road called the Gate, which ran from west to east all the way from Carlisle to Corbridge. It was used for transporting troops along the wall to get from place to place. And right now we are at a pretty high point on the wall, and there, standing next to Adam, are the remains of a signal tower. So if there was any sign of trouble, a signal would have gone up from this place and people along the wall would have seen it. But yeah, look at that, it's breathtaking. I'm standing in turret 51B on Hadrian's Wall. Pretty similar to the last turret we were in, except there's no extending bits of wall going from it. Trying to work out what this may have been. Was that the beginning of a staircase, do you reckon, Ed? Yeah. Potentially the beginning of a staircase, we think. But yeah, this would have been the basement of a turret. Going by the diagram we just saw, the turret would have had 2 floors. There you go. Bit more wall. This is Piper Spike. Another small turret on the wall. Very similar structure to the last one we saw. Pretty much identical, probably slightly smaller, but same 2 floors. Originally, this is all that remains. Apparently a stone was found close to here, belonging to Candidius Crescens, a Roman centurion. There you go. So far, on this walk, still day 3, this is the longest stretch of Roman wall we've yet come across. Goes right down the hill there, actually leads into a normal farmer's wall. Shows how the wall has evolved over the years, I guess. There is another turret as well you can see on this road. You'll see a slightly wider bit. If I hold out the camera, a bit juts out, that's a turret. 2 turrets for every mile on the wall, apparently. And we are in Birdoswald West. Just up that road is Birdoswald. Birdoswald, high on the wall, is the remains of the fort, a modern farmhouse which was occupied until 1987, I believe. Let's see where the Romans would have lived. Presumably different points represent different parts of life, cooking, sleeping, etc. Just give you an idea of the scale of the fort as well. Let's see, there's the back wall. It's not close, it's some distance away, so fairly big as well. But yeah, Birdoswald, place only ever seen before on the television. Lovely. Adam has just made a discovery. I don't know if you can see that. We're presuming someone's seen it before, but from this angle it looks kind of like an eagle's wing. Beautifully carved bit of stone. Near the northern wall, sorry, I'm telling you a complete lie, the eastern wall of the granary. And that's all that. So, what it was part of, I don't know. Maybe someone can post an answer in the comments if you know what it was. But cool. You can see that as a stone carving dedicated to Jupiter, which would have been left here by Dacian soldiers. So soldiers from what is now Romania in the 2nd century when they were stationed here, or 3rd century, I'm not sure actually. At some point there were Dacians from Romania here, but our letters are. So if anyone with excellent eyesight can read Latin, that is dedicated to Jupiter. Is Harrow Scar, so just east of Birdoswald, and it's just interesting because you can see by the shape of the walls that not all the turrets spaced along Hadrian's wall with the same shape, so you can see the sort of rounded edge to the wall. We're on a pretty spectacular bit of the wall as well. Don't know if you can see, but it goes right off into the distance, all the way up to Birdoswald. So superb to see. And obviously, when you look at the landscape, the trees, it really is quite amazing. I bet you wish you were here. Over there, you may be able to hear it behind the trees, is the River Irving. And here, believe it or not, is the base of a Roman bridge. There would have been 3 bridges crossing the river. I assume some of the bank is silted up. I think it would have been a lot closer to where we're standing. I'm just going to move my camera up so you can see the way the wall moves off into the distance. Amazing. This is Poltrosburn. Sorry, mate. Yeah. This was another mile castle on the wall. Poltrosburn. Weird thing about this, you probably can't see it, but if I hold the camera straight, you can see that is the sort of slope it's on, which is quite impressive in itself, just to build on that sort of a slope. If you look down here, we have the remains of what would have been a cooking area where soldiers would have cooked. This apparently was one of the larger forts on the wall. And just to give you an idea of the slope, if I look back now, you can see how high you've got to look to see where the top is. There you go, Poltros Burn. This is the ruins of Firewall Castle. It's nothing to do with the Romans. This was built to protect this land from Scottish raiders. And it dates back to early 14th century, so a little bit after the Romans, quite a long way after the Romans actually. But there is a legend, according to my source, which is a sign located near here, that somewhere within this castle there is a deep well, at the bottom of which is a gold table with a servant, who stayed there since the servant hid the gold table on behalf of the family who owned the castle at the time. So, somewhere under this castle, for those bold enough, there may well be some buried treasure. This, I think, is more of a bit you see in the tourist books. It's where you can really see the face of the cliff. Now it's almost like a warning to anyone who might want to come near. The wall runs along the top of those cliffs. You may just about be able to make it out, but that is probably the most iconic view, or one of the most iconic views of Hadrian's Wall. Certainly something that you see in the tourist books a lot. We think, although we're not completely sure, but we think this is the highest point of Hadrian's Wall. You can't see, because obviously we're at the edge of it, but that is a huge cliff face. It's the same cliff face I was pointing at before, that we believe the tourists look at. But look at that. That is just breathtaking, isn't it? Wow. So, I don't know if it's the highest point we'll find a turret along the wall, but it's definitely the highest point we've found so far, and you can see from the landscape around, it's a pretty impressive place to be able to erect a tower. So, just makes you wonder and see just how amazing these engineers were. Absolutely incredible. Is the end of day 3. And this is where we'll be having our evening pint in Caulfield's, the Maia Castle Inn. Gorgeous name for a pub. And somewhere up there, beyond that hill bit, is our campsites. So night 2, we can just about see one star with a flashlight looking up there. But as you can see, mainly it is dark as ever. So this is a clear night zone, but there are a lot of clouds about tonight, unfortunately, so we're not getting the full effect we were hoping for of the Milky Way. That is the end of day 3, thank you. Here we are, we're on the opening of day 4, somewhere near Caulfields, heading east along the wall. There is the first turret of the day. That was apparently demolished during the reign of Septimus Severus, who reigned, I believe, until 211 AD. Not 100% sure why, but it says it was demolished because he was campaigning north of the border. Why that would mean you have to demolish a turret, I'm not completely sure, but apparently that is what happened. Hopefully this is enough to give you some sort of sense of the scale of some of these turrets. We're currently just beyond the halfway point, but yeah, this is a Roman turret right in the central point of the wall. Fairly impressive size, isn't it? This is Sycamore Gap. In the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Robin, having just returned from the Crusades, walks down this hill and gradually gets to a point where there was a tree. It was this stump which we're looking at now. It says here the stump is still alive, but in this tree a young boy was hiding, having just stolen a deer from the sheriff's men. So everyone who says it's such a terrible thing this tree was cut down, remember, it was used to hide fugitives from the law, so there were some negative aspects to it as well. But no, it is tragic. But a little bit of hope. There is a sign next to it. This stump is still alive, so that could grow back one day, and let's hope it does, because it would be a magnificent sight for people decades from now to see it regrown. Still on day 4, coming up to Housesteads, which shouldn't be too far away. Just wanted to draw attention to these stones, which once were part of an archway, and just look how incredible they've stayed roughly in shape. 2,000 years. Incredible, huge pieces of stone. It's day 4 and we are at Housesteads. You can see the size of this particular fortress on the wall. Absolutely gargantuan. Hopefully you can get a scale there. But just how steep the incline is up to the wall would have commanded a huge area. This is the Temple of Mithras, which was a cult, religious cult that evolved in the Eastern Roman Empire. The temple would have been operational from around 200 AD to around 350 AD. You can see these post holes here. They mark 7 different zones from the entrance, which the participants in the Mithras cult would progress through as they became more in favour with the god. The temple was said to resemble a cave in which Mithras, the god himself, killed a bull and feasted on it with Sol, the god of the sun. Let's try and make out some of these marks here. That probably is Mithras, looking muscular there. There are some inscriptions on the stones, obviously not being familiar with the language, I can't tell you what they are. But the temple is called Brocalicia. Beautiful spot. It's day 4 still, we are in Chollerford, and that is the River Tyne, or the North Tyne. Eventually that will flow into Newcastle. It is the start of day 5 on this Hadrian's Wall walk. We are in a field just north of Chollerford, at the top of a hill, which is about 20 miles from Newcastle. So today we're hoping to cover that last 20 miles. Hopefully the landscape will be a little less difficult. This is Hedon on the Wall, about 10 miles from Newcastle. Down there in the valley you can see the River Tyne, and if I zoom in a little bit you can probably make out that that is very close to our destination. That is Newcastle upon Tyne. I'm on cycle route 72, just coming into Newcastle city centre. I'm not sure if this is a bit of Hadrian's Wall or just some very old looking wall. As you can see, it's been graffitied quite badly, unfortunately, but we'll try and do some research and find out if that is actually part of Hadrian's Wall, and if it is, it's a real shame. Sorry if I'm struggling to hold my camera steady, I am extremely tired. But up there in the distance you can see Anthony Gormley's sculpture, the Angel of the North, guarding over Newcastle in a very shaky way. It's day 6, we're just on the final stint, just heading towards Wallsend. We're in Newcastle underneath the Tyne Bridge. Look at that, magnificent, real potent symbol of this city. So, we have made it you can see up there the writing, where Rome's great frontier begins. We're here at Wallsend, the Roman fort of Segedunum. There's a nice statue of a Roman there, done in bronze. That is 84 miles complete.